So good morning, everybody. I am covering Lance's digital diary today while he's on well-deserved leave. And today I'm absolutely delighted to spend some time with Caroline Ashton, who is our dementia specialist nurse and also an Admiral Nurse. So Caroline, lovely to spend a bit of time with you this morning and really talking about dementia and your role in the organisation. And I know across the wider community, because you have a reach out, don't you, which is absolutely brilliant. Yeah. And I know we've talked about as part of some of our weekly briefings, but your role has changed recently, hasn't it? So you're a dementia specialist nurse and we're delighted to have you, but also an Admiral Nurse. Are you able just to talk us through what does that mean?
Sure. So I've been a dementia clinical nurse specialist here at PAH for 5.5 years now, nearly 6 years, which is a job that I'm really privileged to do. But I've always kind of modelled my role into that of an Admiral Nurse, and I've really had a desire to fulfil that dream of becoming an Admiral Nurse. What that means is Admiral Nurses are dementia specialist nurses, and they come under the umbrella of the charity Dementia UK, and their primary aim is to support the family carer, which then if you enable to support the family carer, that enables them to support the person living with dementia. So in terms of my role, I'm still here, I still work and do the same role. It just means I have that extended support from other professionals like myself. I have monthly clinical supervision, have access to so much training and support. It's a really beneficial role, not just for myself personally, but I think for the wider organisation. It enables us to sort of work more strategically and sort of have closer connections with other agencies and organisations.
Yeah, so that's sort of outward reaching and sort of being in line with best practice, and also the support, isn't it, about what are others doing is really important. And I think we all recognise, and I certainly recognise in a number of compliments, the difference that role makes to the families and to people in dementia in our organisation. And we know there's lots in the news, don't we, around dementia, early diagnosis of dementia, prevalence of dementia. Are you able just to tell people around what the prevalence looks like and what the sort of need for dementia looks like nationally and locally?
Sure. Currently it's estimated there are about 960,000 people living with dementia in the UK, and that's set to rise to 1.2 million by 2040. So the number is increasing, of course. And that is possibly because we know a lot more about dementia now and we understand it, and we may be diagnosing dementia that we may have called something different many years ago. So we just have a lot more awareness around it. And certainly for myself, seeing patients in hospital, we have, I think, estimated 414 beds. And I think the national research would say that 25 to 30% of patients with dementia are in hospital at any one time. Just yesterday, I did a whole trust audit of everybody with dementia in hospital, and we had 43 patients with dementia. But that number probably would be a lot higher actually, but maybe the patients just don't have the diagnosis yet. So numbers are increasing, and that's why the job that I do is so important, and particularly to think about those patients who may not have a diagnosis, but enabling the family to get the right support when they leave hospital.
Yeah, I mean, it's just massive, isn't it? And what is absolutely key is that we get it right in hospital, which is why your role is absolutely so important. Because we know that people coming into different environments when they've got a dementia or a cognitive impairment massively disrupts their ability to cope, doesn't it? So it's really important that we have our right support systems across the organisation. And I know one of the things that you've been leading on with our volunteers is making a difference in terms of the support systems we have across the trust.
Yeah.
So we've got some dementia.
Forget me not.
Okay, was you able to talk about that and the other roles that you are influencing across the organisation?
Yeah, of course. You mentioned how difficult the environment is for people living with dementia, and we know just as soon as they cross the threshold of our hospital that life will be very different for them, because they're away from their families, their regular care, their regular sleep pattern, their regular food and medication, and everything will change for them, and it can be really, really distressing. And there is a high prevalence of risk of them developing delirium as well, which of course added on to the top of dementia can be even more profound for them. So it's really difficult, and we really appreciate that. So we are working on many different projects, but one of the things that a couple of things I'd like to sort of talk about is was Namaste, our Namaste Care project. So in 2020, I think it was, I was working quite closely with our local hospice, St Clair's, who had some funding to develop a Namaste Care project for professionals and family carers. This initially was meant to be a face-to-face project, but of course in 2020 the pandemic happened, and we delivered that training and education online, which now is a face-to-face project. But Namaste is a Hindi greeting for honour the spirit within, and in terms of advanced dementia, what that means is finding that way of connection with our patients with advanced dementia, those patients that may not be able to communicate their needs very easily, may be very quiet, may be very isolated, and we encourage staff to think about the 5 senses when providing personal care. Will music help them to deliver personal care? What will help calm them and reassure them? So now all of our staff that have regular contact with dementia will have access to Namaste Care training, either here at the hospital or also at St Clair's. So we're working in partnership, which is a wonderful project. And for me, it's just more about also a compassionate approach to care. And the other thing that is really exciting recently is we are developing the role of a Pacific volunteer for our patients with dementia, and we've called them the Forget-Me-Not Dementia Volunteers. So I'm working really closely with Philippa in voluntary services, and we currently are internally recruiting these volunteers. We've got 4 in the process at the moment, and just yesterday another lady came forward and asked if she could become a volunteer. But we are making sure we really support them in their role. So we're giving them some induction. I'm working with them on the wards, embedding them in pairs, they're together, so they've got each other to talk to, making sure they've had access to all of our dementia training here, even though they're volunteers, they can attend all the staff training, and providing them with sensory equipment to use with our patients. And I've got some wonderful feedback to share about the time that they've spent with our patients on the ward. And we aim in September to externally recruit more volunteers as well.
Wow, I mean, that's brilliant, isn't it? It makes such a difference, as you say, that one-to-one care, but also one-to-one care for people who have the time to really try to understand the person that's in front of them. It's just amazing. So thank you to everybody that's doing their volunteering, and for those people that will come forward, and also for your leadership in that, Caroline. But I know it doesn't stop there, does it? Because you're always thinking about what else can we be, what else can we be doing? So your role in terms of what this organisation looks like, what our care to dementia patients look like, is absolutely instrumental. So are you able to talk about any other things that you are doing or in the pipeline, or things that you would like to take forward, or any other messages that you'd like other people to take away?
I mean, in terms of my career, I've constantly tried to keep myself updated all the time with the best evidence that there is out there, and attend many conferences, but lots of other projects we're working within the organisation currently to improve the care and the environment for our people with dementia. So they're really exciting projects that I'd love to talk about once we have those finalised and they're on their way. But I guess one of the important parts of my role, which I've always thought was really important, is reaching out to the community. And I do that in a couple of ways. So I'm the chair of the Harlow Dementia Friendly Communities, which is previously called Dementia Action Alliance. So that I chair that meeting. So I'm looking at Harlow and how we can work towards making Harlow more dementia friendly, because the majority of our residents from Harlow will come here. And that enables me then to influence care out in the community for, within organisations like shops and businesses, assess their environments to make sure they're working towards being dementia friendly. Just a few months ago, we hosted Harlow's first dementia fair. So we raised awareness of dementia in Harlow's. We held that at a local church. So we had lots of different organisations who support people with dementia there, and we did various talks throughout the day, and that was really well attended. And I do I volunteer as well at Dementia Friendly Coffee Morning on a Friday morning at Mary Latin Church. But that is just crucial for my role, I believe, because we set the coffee morning up in 2020 again on Teams, because we recognise the isolation for people with dementia. And we set it up on Teams with Lynn Hurry, who's the vicar from Mary Latin, Ron Kingsmill from Rainbow Services, and we did online seated chair exercise and singing. And then now we have that coffee morning face to face. But then what helps me with my role, I will meet people at the coffee morning who will then become our patients here in hospital. So then the families have that connection with me, so they can talk to me and ask me to pop and see their family member if they can't get in to visit. And I have that way of improving that communication.
Wow, there's just so much going on, isn't there? But I think if we reflect around the prevalence of dementia, and just as an organisation understanding that a number of people that we will come across either in the corridors or in the clinic spaces, the outpatient areas, or in our inpatient areas, actually may well have a dementia that might be undiagnosed or indeed diagnosed. So that level of support that you are blanketing across the organisation is really, really important. So I just want to say a massive thank you to Caroline for the work that you are leading, and also just the positive difference that you make.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.